Alright, this is gonna be a tutorial on checkpoints. If I die to this enemy right now, I will respawn where I originally spawned in. If I tap this checkpoint flag and I die to this enemy, it will respawn me at the checkpoint flag. Let's figure out how to get that working. So this is a brand new project. There's none of the checkpoint stuff in it. This is as default as it comes. And the first thing we kind of want to pay attention to is where our character's respawn code is. So if we go into our player, we look at our player script. See, all the way down at the bottom, there's a function called reset. It's just giving me a visual issue. There we go. There's a function called reset. And here we have our first line in our reset function that sets our position, our player's position, equal to our original position. So these are kind of the lines of code that we're going to edit. We can also see that our reset function is called in this function our on lives changed function. That's where it calls the reset. Every single time our lives change, it resets our original position. So that's just something to keep in mind. This is where we will go back to. First thing I would like to do is I would like to make our checkpoint node. Now, your checkpoint node does not need a visual indicator like a flag going up and down. This will work fine without that. But if you would like one, that's how I'm going to build it. You can just ignore any sprite nodes or sprite code that I will mention. It's very brief. So the parent node that we are going to use is, I believe, an area 2D. I think an area 2D will do great as a parent. Just type it in. It shows up for us. There we go. Area 2D. That's a great parent node. You'll see that it has a warning. That's because we need a collision shape as its child. So let's get that already set up. I'm gonna give it a rectangle, and I'm gonna give it some verticality so that the player can walk through it. The player will collide with this. Now, the one thing you don't need, if you don't want a sprite, is an animated sprite 2D. That's what I'm going to use for my flag. And we are also going to need a respawn point, a marker 2D. So I'm going to call my marker 2D respawn point. I'm going to call my area 2D my checkpoint. And I'm going to give my sprite frames the flag. I'm going to, I think it's this one. Yeah, perfect. So now my flag by default is down, but when the player passes through it and the checkpoint is active, it will go up. So this is the setup: an area 2D as the parent node for our checkpoint, a collision shape 2D as a child, an optional animated sprite for your checkpoint, and a respawn point. This will determine where your player respawns around your checkpoint. So let's save our checkpoint scene. I'm gonna add this into components, and I'm gonna hit save. Now, the first thing we're going to want to do in our checkpoint scene after we have created all the nodes is we're going to add a script to our checkpoint. Called checkpoint, that's fine. I already did this, so this is here already, but what we do want to do is we want to select our area 2D. We're going to select our body entered signal in the signals tab next to inspector. We're going to connect that to our checkpoint script. Beautiful. Now we have a on body entered function. Instead of just pass, we're going to check if the body that has entered our area 2D dot is underscore in underscore group. If the body that has entered our area 2D is in a group under the name of players, which our player is automatically in, I can show you where that is. We're just gonna hit pass for now, and we'll come back to this. I forgot to add a colon at the end of our if statement. There we go, perfect. And we can see that if our body is in group players, we can see if we select our player in our player scene, there it is, the group players in our groups tab. So if the body that enters our checkpoints area 2D is in the group players, we will run some code. We'll come back to that. Up next, we want to create a checkpoint manager. So we've made a checkpoint. Here's our checkpoint. Now we're going to make a checkpoint manager. We're going to go to main. We're going to go to the main scene, and that's where we're going to add our checkpoint manager. It's not going to be a visible node, so it doesn't matter really where we put it. I'm just going to put it as a child of game logic, I think. It's going to be a regular node like this. So we're going to call this checkpoint. Now our checkpoint manager is going to need a script, and that's all it's going to need. We're going to need a few variables. Our first variable we're going to need is a variable for our player's last location. Last location. We're also going to need to export a variable. We're going to export a variable for our player, and that is of type capital P, player. In our ready function, player right. In our ready function, we are going to set our last location equal to our player's global position. That's all we're going to do in the checkpoint manager for now. We can go back to our checkpoint, and we're going to add some variables in here. We're going to add, this is in our checkpoint script. In our checkpoint script, we are going to add a variable for our checkpoint manager. We're going to add a variable for our player. I don't know if we need to. Fine. And we're going to export a variable for our sprite. And that's going to be a animated sprite 2D. In our ready function, we are going to set our checkpoint manager equal to the parent node of our main scene. So this checkpoint node will be in our main scene. We're going to get the parent of our main scene, of what that node in the scene. That's going to be our main. We are then, I guess I should take this out of game logic. Make this just a child of main. So this is now going to, the checkpoint manager should be a child of main. And in order to get a reference to our checkpoint manager from our node script, we're going to say get parent, parentheses, dot get node, parentheses, and in the node, we're going to type out exactly the way our checkpoint manager is spelt right here. Capital C, checkpoint, capital M, manager. And so this get parent get node line, what this does is it looks for, this script is attached to the checkpoint, which will be a node in our main scene. It will get the parent, which hopefully will be the main. And then we are going to look for a node that is a child of the main, which should be checkpoint manager, spelled exactly as is here. We are also going to get the player. We're going to get our variable player that we've created, and we are going to do the same thing. We're going to get parent. We're going to get node. We're going to get player. And now the thing about this is your setup might be different than mine. If your checkpoint manager is not a direct child of main, if your player is not a direct child of main and it is moved somewhere else, the pathing to get that will be differently. I can go over that in class if need be. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to go back to our onBody entered function, and we're going to play. If you have an animated sprite, I'm going to change my sprite to play the up animation. And I know that I have an up animation because if I go into my checkpoint scene and I click on my animated sprite 2D, I know that I have an up and a down animation. So that's how I know that that should work. We're going to do a few other things in our if statement. If the body of a player enters our area 2D, we are also going to update our checkpoint manager. We're going to update our checkpoint manager's last location. And we're going to set that equal to our respawn point. And how we're going to get that reference is we're just going to click and drag our respawn point right there. So the way that we're getting our last location from our checkpoint manager script is because we've made a reference to it. We've referenced our checkpoint manager, so now we have access to the variables that are in our checkpoint manager. And we clicked and dragged our respawn point right here, and that will tell our checkpoint manager where we should respawn our player. The last touch we need to add is we need to say our respawn point's global position. then it will actually get the position of the respawn point and not just the node itself. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to our checkpoint manager in the main scene. We're going to assign our player. Because in our checkpoint manager, we created an export variable for our player, there is now this in our checkpoint manager's inspector. So we need to click assign and select our player and assign it. Beautiful. Now we have a player assigned. I believe when we can drag our checkpoint into the main scene as well. Let's do that. I find my checkpoint scene. Drag. Oh, it's a little tiny. Let's make that bright a little bit bigger. A little tiny. Can't. I think that's bigger. Still feels a little small. Am I crazy? Drag checkpoint to. And now we can go to our checkpoint node, and we need to assign our player sprites. And our sprites are assigned. Where we're gonna update this reset stuff and the on lives change stuff. Before we do that though, we need to make another reference to our checkpoint manager. So we can go to where the other varies are. We have some variables here. Let's create a variable called the checkpoint manager. And that's of type node. And in our ready function, let me just copy this. In our ready function, after these lines, we're going to set our checkpoint manager equal to getParent dot getNode, and we are going to get the node that is exactly as we spell checkpoint manager, exactly as it's spelled in the theme. Beautiful. Now, in our on lives changed function, I'm going to turn word wrap on just to make my life easier. In our on lives change function right here, we are going to get rid of this reset. We're going to say, going to take our self.position, set it equal to our checkpoint manager's last location. Now we're almost done, but if we go into the main scene, we'll see that our flag is already up when we start. If we are using an animated sprite 2D, we want to make sure it's down, set that to auto, and then it will be down when we start. Now, if I don't touch my flag and I die to an enemy, I respawn at the beginning. If I touch my flag, it goes up. If I die to an enemy, I respawn at my flag. And now you can change where you respawn. Select your respawn point. You can drag it anywhere. If I want my player to respawn above my flag, and I turn my flag on, I will respawn above the flag. So that's how you change where the player position is, and that's how you get a checkpoint set up. Let me know if you have any questions in class.